"You have 5 seconds," he said, his voice low and controlled in that way that made men twice his size go pale. "Who broke your leg?" Emma's breath caught. She'd been lying in this bed for 2 hours, had given her statement to the police, had smiled weakly at the nurses, and told them she'd slipped on the stairs at home. A stupid accident. Nothing more. Because what else could she say? That Richard Castellano, Dante's stepfather, the man who'd married Dante's widowed mother just 6 months ago, had shoved her down those stairs after she'd refused his advances? That he'd threatened her little sister if she ever told anyone? I fell, she whispered, her fingers twisting in the thin hospital blanket. Dante moved closer, and she could smell his cologne. Something expensive and dark, like cedar and smoke. He pulled up a chair with one hand, the metal legs scraping against the linoleum floor, and sat down. His suit probably cost more than her annual salary at the flower shop. His hands, resting on his knees, were steady and strong, with a single gold ring on his right index finger. "Try again," he said softly. Too softly. "I don't," Emma's voice cracked. "Why are you even here?" "Because an hour ago someone sent me a photograph." He pulled out his phone, tapped the screen once, and turned it toward her. Emma's stomach dropped. It was a picture of her, being wheeled into the emergency room, her leg twisted at that horrible angle, her face tear-streaked and terrified. But that wasn't what made her hands go cold. In the corner of the photo, barely visible, was a man's shoulder. A navy blue suit jacket. The same one Richard had been wearing at dinner tonight, when he'd invited himself to her apartment under the pretense of discussing a business opportunity for her struggling flower shop. "That's my stepfather's suit," Dante said, his voice like cut glass. "Someone wanted me to know he was there. Someone wanted me to ask questions." He leaned forward slightly. "So I'm asking. 4 seconds now. Who broke your leg, Emma?" Her name in his mouth made something flutter in her chest, even through the fear. He remembered her. From one afternoon of her placing roses and peonies in crystal vases while his mother showed her around the estate. He'd passed through the garden for maybe 2 minutes, and she'd thought he hadn't even noticed her. "If I tell you," Emma's voice was barely audible. "He said he'd hurt my sister. Lily. She's only 17 and she's... Where is she right now?" Dante's question was immediate, sharp. "At my apartment. I told her to lock the doors and not answer for anyone." Dante was already pulling out his phone, typing rapidly with his thumbs. "What's your address?" Your address, Emma. Now." She gave it to him, her heart pounding. He sent one text, then another, his jaw tight. When he looked up at her again, something had shifted in his expression. The ice was still there, but underneath it was something else, something that looked almost like rage. "My men will have your sister somewhere safe within 15 minutes, he said. "Now tell me exactly what Richard did to you, every detail. And don't leave anything out because you think it might embarrass you or make you sound weak. I promise you, Tesoro, nothing about what you're going to tell me will make me think less of you. But it will determine how much your stepfather suffers before I'm done with him." The endearment, Tesoro, treasure, rolled off his tongue like he'd been calling her that for years. Like she was something precious to him already. "Your stepfather?" Emma asked weakly. "You're going to... but he's married to your mother." "My mother," Dante said quietly, "deserves better than a man who would lay hands on a woman half his size. She deserves the truth. And you deserve justice." He reached out, and his fingers were gentle as they brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Tell me what happened. Start from the beginning." So she did. Emma told him about how Richard had started showing up at her flower shop 3 weeks ago, always when she was alone. How his compliments had turned suggestive, then explicit. How he'd offered to invest in her business if she'd be nice to him. How tonight he'd shown up at her apartment with a bottle of wine and that predatory smile, and when she'd asked him to leave, he'd grabbed her wrist so hard she'd have bruises in the shape of his fingers by morning. She told Dante how she'd tried to push past Richard to get to her phone, and how he'd shoved her. How she'd fallen backward down her apartment stairs. Only 8 steps, but enough. How she'd heard the crack of her own bone breaking, had felt the white-hot pain shoot up her leg. How Richard had stood at the top of the stairs for a long moment, looking down at her with those cold eyes, before he'd said, "Tell anyone about this, about any of it, and your little sister will have a much worse accident. Do you understand me, Emma?" Then he'd left. Just walked out her door like nothing had happened. It was her neighbor, Mrs. Chen, who'd heard her crying and called 911. By the time Emma finished speaking, she was shaking. Dante's expression hadn't changed. That careful, controlled mask was still in place, but his hands had curled into fists on his knees. "You did nothing wrong," he said, and his voice was different now, raw. "You understand that? None of this was your fault. Not his attention, not your refusal, not what he did to you. Men like Richard, they think they can take whatever they want because they've never been stopped, never faced consequences." He stood up, and the movement was fluid and dangerous, like a predator uncoiling. "That changes tonight." "Dante, wait!" Emma tried to sit up, gasped at the pain in her leg. "Your mother loves him. If you do something to him, she'll—" "My mother," Dante interrupted gently, moving back to her side, his hand carefully taking hers, "has been married to Richard for 6 months. I've known you for 3 months and 10 days, and in that time, you've never asked me for anything. You've never used my mother's friendship to try to network or social climb. You came to her party, did beautiful work with those flowers, refused payment beyond what we'd contracted, and smiled at me exactly once." His thumb traced over her knuckles. It was a good smile. "I've thought about it more than I should. And now I find out that the man I already distrusted, the man who married my mother too quickly, with too many convenient stories about his past, has put you in a hospital bed." He leaned down, and his face was inches from hers. "I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Can you do that?" Emma nodded, unable to look away from those gray eyes. "If you never saw Richard again, if he disappeared from your life entirely and could never hurt you or your sister, would you mourn him?" "No," she whispered. "Good." Dante's lips quirked in something that wasn't quite a smile. "Then don't worry about what happens next. Just focus on healing. I'm going to step outside for a moment to make some calls. When I come back, we're going to talk about your future. Because as of right now, Emma Reeves, you work for me." What?" But he was already moving toward the door, his phone in his hand. He paused at the threshold, looking back at her. "Oh, and Emma? You're going to be seeing a lot more of me. I take care of what's mine. And you, Tesoro, whether you know it yet or not, are very much mine now." Then he was gone, leaving Emma staring at the empty doorway, her heart racing, her mind spinning with 1,000 questions. Dante Moretti made 3 phone calls in the hospital corridor. The first was to Marco, his head of security. The girl's sister, Lily Reeves, 17. Brown hair, green eyes like her sister. She's at Emma's apartment on 5th and Maple, apartment 3B. Get her out. Take her to the safe house on Branson Street. Post 2 men on her. If anyone tries to approach her, anyone at all, you call me immediately. Understood, boss. The second call was to his mother. She answered on the 3rd ring, her voice warm and sleepy. "Dante? Sweetheart, it's almost midnight. Is everything all right?" "Mama?" he said, and he hated the gentleness he had to put in his voice. "I need you to do something for me. Don't ask questions, just do it. Is Richard home?" "Yes, he's in his study. He said he had some business calls to make. Why? I need you to go to your bedroom, lock the door, and wait for me. I'm sending a car for you. You're going to stay at the Rosewood Estate tonight." There was a pause. His mother wasn't stupid. She'd been a Moretti long before she'd been a Castellano. "Dante, what has he done?" "I'll explain everything when I see you. But Mama, I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" Another pause, longer this time. Then, "The car better be here in 10 minutes, or I'm driving myself." It'll be there in 5. I love you, Mama. I love you too, baby. And Dante, whatever he did, handle it. The third call was to Luca, his cousin and consigliere. Luca answered on the first ring. I need everything you can find on Richard Castellano, and I need it fast. Real name, real background, aliases, business dealings, why he married my mother, everything. How fast? Within the hour. Luca whistled low. That fast means you're going to do something permanent. Want to tell me what happened? He hurt someone under my protection. Ah, then he's already dead. He just doesn't know it yet. I'll call you back in 45 minutes. Dante hung up and stood in the fluorescent hospital lighting, forcing himself to breathe slowly. To think. He couldn't go in there half-cocked, couldn't let emotion drive him. That wasn't how this worked. That was how you made mistakes, how you left loose ends. But God, the image of Emma in that hospital bed, her leg broken, her face pale with pain and fear, that bruise already forming on her wrist where Richard had grabbed her. It made something primal rise in his chest, something he usually kept locked down tight. He'd noticed her at his mother's party. Of course he had. You didn't get to his position by not noticing things, and Emma Reeves was noticeable. Not because she was trying to be. She wasn't wearing anything flashy, wasn't working the room or name-dropping or doing any of the things that the usual social climbers did at his mother's events. She'd been focused on her work, moving through the garden with quiet efficiency, her hands gentle with the flowers, her expression content. And then she'd turned, had seen him watching her, and had given him that smile. Warm and genuine, and a little shy. Like she was happy to see him, but didn't expect anything from him. It had been refreshing, disarming. He'd meant to talk to her before she left. Had gotten pulled into a business call instead. Had told himself he'd find her again, look up her shop, engineer a reason to see her. Then he'd gotten busy with the Rossini situation, and by the time that was handled, 2 months had passed. And now this. Now Richard. Dante's phone buzzed. A text from Marco. Sister secured. 2 men on her. She's asking questions. He typed back, tell her Emma is safe and I'll explain everything soon. Keep her comfortable. Another buzz, this time from his mother. In the car. Your driver looks very serious. Should I be worried? Only about Richard. You're safe, Mama. Always. Dante took one more breath, smoothed down his tie, and walked back into Emma's room. She was sitting up a little more now, wincing but determined. She looked up when he entered, and there was something vulnerable and fierce in her eyes all at once. My sister, she started, is safe. My men have her. 2 of my best are watching over her right now. No one will touch her, Emma. You have my word on that. He returned to his chair, sat down. Now, your flower shop. Tell me about it. It's just a small place, downtown. I've had it for 3 years. It's barely profitable, but I love it. The arrangements, the events, making people's days brighter. She bit her lip. Richard said he could invest, could help me expand. I thought, I was stupid enough to think he was just being kind because of your mother. You weren't stupid. You were trusting. There's a difference. Dante pulled out a small leather notebook and a pen from his inside jacket pocket. Here's what's going to happen. Starting tomorrow, your shop is going to get a significant investment. Enough to expand, to hire additional staff, to take on larger contracts. In return, you're going to handle all the floral arrangements for my businesses. I own 3 hotels, 2 restaurants, and I throw a lot of private events. You'll be well compensated for each one. Does that sound fair? Emma stared at him. That's too much. You don't have to. I'm not doing it out of charity, Dante said, looking up from his notebook. I've seen your work. You're talented. And I prefer to do business with people I can trust, people who have integrity. He held her gaze. I think you're one of those people, Emma. Am I wrong? No, I mean, I try to be. But Dante, you barely know me. I know enough. I know you refused Richard's advances even when he offered you something you needed. I know you're more worried about your sister than yourself right now, even though you're the one in a hospital bed. I know you've been lying to the police to protect Lily, even though it means your attacker goes free. He leaned forward slightly. Those things tell me who you are, and I like who you are, Tesoro. Very much. The way he said it, low and certain, like it was a simple fact, made Emma's cheeks flush. I don't understand why you're being so kind to me, she said quietly. We met once. You could just, I don't know, have your people handle this quietly. You don't have to get personally involved. Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, When I was 15, my father was killed. Business dispute, wrong place, wrong time. Doesn't matter. He died, and my mother was devastated. She loved him with everything she had. I swore then that I would protect her, that no one would ever hurt her again. His jaw tightened. Richard represents a failure on my part. I should have vetted him more thoroughly before he got close to her. I should have seen what he was. So yes, this is personal, because he's hurt someone I care about, my mother, by being in her life at all. And he's hurt you, who didn't deserve it. But your mother loves him, Emma said. When you tell her what he did, she'll be hurt and angry. And then she'll be relieved, because somewhere deep down, I think she already knows something is off about him. My mother is a smart woman. She rushed into this marriage, which isn't like her. I think she was lonely, and Richard knew exactly how to exploit that. Dante's expression hardened. He won't get the chance to hurt her any further. Or you, or anyone else. Emma swallowed hard. What are you going to do to him? Nothing you need to worry about. By morning, Richard Castellano will no longer be a problem. You'll never see him again. Neither will my mother. That's all you need to know. Dante. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then stood. That's Luca. I need to take this. I'll be right outside. Try to rest. He stepped into the hallway again, bringing the phone to his ear. Talk to me. Luca's voice was grim. Richard Castellano is not Richard Castellano. His real name is Richard Chen. He's got a record in 3 states. Fraud, embezzlement, suspected involvement in at least 2 suspicious deaths of wealthy widows he dated. Never convicted on the deaths, but the pattern is there. He married your mother using a false identity, and I'm guessing his plan was to milk her for money and then disappear. Or worse. Dante's grip on the phone tightened. Where is he right now? According to the tracker, I had Marco put on his car last week. Yeah, I didn't like him either, boss. I've been watching him. He's at home. Your mother's estate. Looks like he's in the study. Good. My mother is already out of the house. Send the crew to pick him up. Quiet. Clean. Take him to the warehouse on Pier 9. I'll meet you there in an hour. You got it. Dante, this is going to be messy. Your mother finding out, she'll understand. Eventually. My mother hates liars more than anything else in the world. Once she knows who Richard really is, what he really wanted, she'll mourn the man she thought she married, not the man he actually was. Dante paused. How's the girl's background check? Emma Reeves, clean as a whistle, runs her flower shop, pays her taxes, takes care of her younger sister, no criminal record, not even a parking ticket. She's got some debt, student loans, business loan for the shop, but nothing unusual. She's exactly what she appears to be, boss. One of the good ones. Yeah, Dante said quietly, glancing back at Emma's hospital room door. She is, which is why we're going to make sure she never has to worry about men like Richard again. Understood. See you in an hour. Dante ended the call and stood in the hallway for a moment, composing himself. Then he walked back into Emma's room. She was trying not to cry, he could tell. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her jaw tight. She looked up at him, and the vulnerability in her expression made something in his chest ache. "Talk to me," he said gently, sitting back down. "What are you thinking about?" "I'm thinking that this is insane," she whispered. "That you're some kind of, I don't even know what. You show up here, you tell me you're taking care of everything, you offer me a business deal, you have men protecting my sister. This doesn't happen in real life. Men like you don't help women like me." "Men like me? Rich, powerful, connected. You could have anyone, do anything. Why are you wasting your time on this? On me?" Dante reached out and took her hand again, his thumb tracing over her knuckles. The touch was gentle, but his voice was firm. "Emma, look at me." She did, those green eyes meeting his. "You're not a waste of time. You're not a charity case. You're not some damsel I'm rescuing on a whim. You're a smart, talented, brave woman who has been dealt an incredibly unfair hand tonight, and I have the resources to help you. More than that, I want to help you. Because 3 months ago, you smiled at me in a garden, and I've been thinking about that smile ever since. And tonight, someone hurt you. Someone connected to my family hurt you. That makes it my responsibility. It also makes it personal." He leaned closer. "So I'm going to fix this. And then, if you'll let me, I'm going to spend some time getting to know you better. Maybe take you to dinner once your leg heals. Maybe find out if that smile is as genuine as I think it is. Does that sound acceptable to you?" Emma stared at him, her lips slightly parted. You want to take me to dinner?" "I want to do a lot of things with you, Tesoro. Dinner is just the start." His lips quirked. "But first I have some business to handle. You should try to get some rest. The nurses said they're keeping you overnight for observation, but you should be able to go home tomorrow. I'll have someone bring Lily by in the morning so you can see her, and I'll make sure your apartment building has better security. No one will bother you there again." "You're doing too much," Emma said, but her protest was weak. She was exhausted. He could see it. The pain medication was starting to kick in, making her eyelids heavy. "I'm doing exactly enough," Dante said. He stood, then leaned down and pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead. "Sleep, Emma. When you wake up, things will be better. I promise you that." By the time Dante arrived at Pier 9, it was nearly 2 in the morning. The warehouse was one of several he owned throughout the city. Legitimate businesses on paper, useful for other purposes when needed. Tonight, it was very much serving one of those other purposes. Richard Castellano, or rather Richard Chen, was tied to a chair in the center of the empty floor space. His face was already bruised from where he'd apparently tried to fight off Dante's men. Stupid. No one fought off Dante Moretti's crew. Luca was waiting near the entrance, his expression neutral. "He's been asking to speak to you. Keeps saying there's been a misunderstanding." "I'm sure he does." Dante shrugged off his suit jacket, handing it to Luca, then rolled up his sleeves. He walked toward Richard slowly, his footsteps echoing in the empty space. Richard looked up, and there was fear in his eyes now. "Good. Dante, listen, I don't know what. You've been told, but I can explain—" "Shut up." Dante's voice was quiet, but it cut through Richard's words like a knife. "You don't get to talk unless I ask you a question. Nod if you understand." Richard nodded jerkily. "Good. Now I'm going to tell you what I know, and you're going to tell me if I've gotten any of it wrong. Your real name is Richard Chen. You have a history of targeting wealthy women, marrying them under false pretenses, stealing their money, and disappearing. In at least 2 cases, those women died under suspicious circumstances shortly after changing their wills in your favor. You married my mother 6 months ago using a fake identity, and 3 weeks ago you started targeting Emma Reeves, a young woman who works as a florist. When she refused your advances, you assaulted her tonight, broke her leg, and threatened her 17-year-old sister. Does that about cover it?" Richard's face had gone pale. "I never meant to hurt anyone. The girl, Emma, she misunderstood." Dante moved so fast that Richard didn't see it coming. One moment Dante was standing 3 feet away, the next his hand was around Richard's throat, squeezing just hard enough to make breathing difficult. I told you to shut up unless I asked a question, Dante said softly. Did I ask you a question? Richard shook his head frantically. That's what I thought. Dante released him, stepping back. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign some paperwork that Luca has prepared. It's an annulment of your marriage to my mother, along with a confession of fraud and a formal statement that you're leaving the country permanently. You're also going to sign over any assets you obtained during your marriage to her. Not that there are many, since I made sure you never had access to her real accounts. Then you're going to leave. Tonight. I have a one-way ticket for you to a lovely little country with no extradition treaty. You'll get on a plane, and you'll never set foot in the United States again. If you do, well, Dante smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. Let's just say that what I do to you, then, will make tonight look like a friendly conversation. And if I refuse? Richard's voice was hoarse. Then I hand you over to the police with evidence of your real identity and your past crimes, including the attempted murder of Emma Reeves. You'll spend the rest of your life in prison. Or, Dante leaned in closer, I handle things my way, which is much less pleasant for you and much more permanent. Your choice, Richard. You have 30 seconds to decide. Richard's eyes darted between Dante and Luca, who was standing by the door with a briefcase full of paperwork. I'll sign. I'll sign everything. Just let me go. Smart choice. Dante nodded to Luca, who brought over the papers. It took 20 minutes for Richard to sign everything, his hand shaking, his face sheet white. When he was done, Luca checked each signature, then nodded to Dante. All done, boss. Legal and binding. Excellent. Dante looked at Richard one last time. Your flight leaves at 6 a.m. My men will take you to the airport and make sure you get on that plane. If you try to contact my mother, Emma, or anyone else associated with me, I'll know. And then you'll discover exactly how far my reach extends. Do you understand? Richard nodded miserably. Good. Get him out of my sight. 2 of Dante's men untied Richard and hauled him to his feet, dragging him toward a waiting car. Dante watched until they were gone, then turned to Luca. Make sure those documents get to my mother's lawyer first thing in the morning, and have someone clean out Richard's things from her house before she gets back. I don't want her to have to deal with any reminders of him. Already on it. What about the girl? Emma? Emma, Dante said quietly, is going to be just fine. I'm going to make sure of it. When Emma woke up the next morning, Lily was sitting in the chair beside her hospital bed. Lily! Emma tried to sit up, gasped at the pain in her leg. Easy, Em. Don't hurt yourself more. Lily leaned forward, her young face worried. Are you okay? These scary guys in suits showed up at the apartment last night and said you'd been hurt, and I needed to come with them. I was terrified, but they were actually really nice, and they took me to this mansion, and there was a cook who made me pasta and... She paused for breath. Emma, what the hell is going on? Who is Dante Moretti, and why does he have, a private army? Emma laughed weakly. It's a long story. I have time, and apparently so do you, since you're stuck in that bed. Lily crossed her arms, looking remarkably like their late mother when she was about to demand answers. So Emma told her. Not everything. Lily didn't need to know all the details about Richard's advances, and she definitely didn't need to know exactly what Dante had probably done to him. But enough. Enough to explain why she was here, why Dante was helping them, why their lives were about to change. When she finished, Lily was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, So, this Dante guy, he's, into you? Lily! I mean, Emma, come on. He sent his men to protect me. He's investing in your business. He kissed your forehead. The nurses have been talking about it all morning. Apparently he stayed here for hours last night, making calls in the hallway, checking on you. That's not just being nice. That's romance novel stuff. That's him being a decent person who felt responsible because Richard was connected to his family, Emma interrupted, but her cheeks were warm. Uh-huh, sure, that's totally it. Lily grinned. He's hot, right? Please tell me he's hot. Lily! What? I'm 17, not dead. And if some rich, powerful guy is going to sweep my sister off her feet, I want to make sure he's at least good-looking. Before Emma could respond, there was a knock on the door. It opened, and Dante walked in, carrying a massive bouquet of peonies and roses, her favorite flowers, the ones she'd been arranging at his mother's party. Good morning, he said, his eyes finding Emma's immediately. I hope I'm not interrupting. Lily's eyes went wide. She looked at the flowers, then at Dante, then at Emma, then back to Dante. Then she whispered, not at all quietly, Okay, yeah, he's definitely hot. Good job, Em. Emma wanted to die of embarrassment. Dante, to his credit, just smiled slightly and set the flowers on the table beside her bed. You must be Lily, he said, extending his hand. It's nice to meet you properly. I'm Dante. Yeah, I figured. Lily shook his hand, then gave him a very obvious once-over. So, you're the guy who's going to make sure no one messes with my sister again? That's the plan, Dante said, along with making sure both of you are taken care of. Speaking of which, Emma, I've had some paperwork drawn up for the investment in your shop. Whenever you're feeling up to it, we can go over the details. No rush. And Lily, I understand you're a junior in high school? Yeah, why? Because I've arranged for a security detail to keep an eye on you, just for the next few weeks until we're sure there are no lingering issues from last night. They'll be discreet, but they'll make sure you get to and from school safely. Lily blinked. You're giving me bodyguards? That's actually kind of cool. Lily, Emma said weakly. What? It is. Lily looked at Dante with newfound respect. Okay, I officially like you. You can date my sister. Lily, Dante's smile widened. I appreciate the approval. Emma, can I steal you for a few minutes? I need to talk to you privately about something. Lily, there's a cafeteria on the second floor. My treat, if you want to grab some breakfast. Are you bribing me with food to give you alone time with my sister? Yes, Dante said honestly. Cool, I'll take $20. He handed her a 50 without blinking. Get something good. Take your time. Lily looked at the bill, looked at him, then looked at Emma. I really like him, Em. Don't screw this up. Then she bounced out of the room, closing the door behind her. Emma covered her face with her hands. I'm so sorry. She's charming, protective of you. Exactly what a little sister should be. Dante sat down in the chair Lily had vacated, his expression growing more serious. How are you feeling? Pain-wise? Better. The medication helps. Dante, about the flowers. I remembered they were your favorite. From the party. He leaned forward slightly. Emma, I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen without interrupting. Can you do that for me? She nodded, her heart suddenly racing. Richard is gone. He'll never bother you, or Lily, or my mother, or anyone else again. He signed an annulment of his marriage, confessed to fraud, and left the country. He's not coming back. Ever. Dante's voice was steady, matter of fact. My mother knows everything now. She's upset, but she's also relieved. She asked me to thank you, actually, for being brave enough to tell me the truth, even when you were scared. She said if you hadn't, she might never have known what Richard really was. Is she okay? She will be. She's strong. And she has family around her. Dante paused. The thing is, Emma, this situation has made me realize something. Life is short. Opportunities pass by. And I'm not a man who likes to let opportunities pass by, especially not ones that matter. What do you mean? I mean that 3 months ago, I saw you in a garden, and I should have talked to you then. Should have asked for your number, taken you to dinner, gotten to know you. But I didn't. I waited. And in that time, you went through something terrible. Something I might have been able to prevent if I'd been paying closer attention, if I'd been in your life already. He reached out and took her hand. I don't want to make that mistake again. I don't want to wait anymore. Emma's breath caught. Dante, I don't understand. I'm saying that I want to see you, Emma. Really see you. Not just as a business arrangement, not just as someone I'm helping. I want to take you to dinner. I want to learn everything about you. What makes you laugh, what you dream about, why you chose flowers as your profession. I want to be the person you call when something good happens, or when something bad happens, or when you just want to talk. And I know this is fast. I know we barely know each other. But I also know that I haven't been able to stop thinking about you for 3 months, and now that I've spent time with you, now that I've seen your strength and your kindness and your bravery, I'm not willing to just walk away. So I'm asking you, Tesoro, will you give me a chance? Emma stared at him, her mind reeling. This couldn't be real. Men like Dante Moretti didn't fall for women like her, didn't show up at hospitals with flowers and promises, didn't look at her like she was something precious and rare. But he was looking at her that way now. His gray eyes were intense, focused entirely on her, like nothing else in the world mattered. I'm not part of your world, she said weakly. I run a flower shop. I drive a 10-year-old car. I've never been to the kind of places you probably go, met the kind of people you know. I don't understand your business. I don't care about any of that, Dante interrupted gently. I care about you, the woman who refused to compromise her integrity, even when she was offered something she needed. The woman who protected her sister, even at her own expense. The woman who arranged flowers like they were works of art because she genuinely loves what she does. That's who I want, Emma. Not someone from my world. You. Why? The word came out as barely a whisper. Because when I look at you, I see something I didn't know I was looking for. Something real. Something honest. Everyone in my life wants something from me, wants my power, my money, my connections. But you didn't even know who I was at that party. You just smiled at me because you were happy. That smile. Emma, that smile was the most genuine thing anyone has given me in years, and I want more of it. I want more of you. Emma felt tears prick her eyes. This is crazy. Maybe, but sometimes the best things are. Dante squeezed her hand gently. I'm not asking you to marry me tomorrow, Tesoro. I'm just asking for a chance. For you to let me prove to you that I'm serious, that I'm not going anywhere, that when I say I want to be with you, I mean it. You really mean this, Emma said, and it wasn't quite a question. She could see it in his eyes, hear it in his voice. He meant every word. I really mean this, Dante confirmed. So what do you say, Emma Reeves? Will you let me take you to dinner once you're healed? Will you give me a chance to show you that sometimes fairy tales actually do happen? Emma looked at him, at this powerful, dangerous, beautiful man who had walked into her life and turned everything upside down in the best possible way, who had protected her sister, saved her from Richard, and was now sitting in a hospital room holding her hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. And she smiled. The same smile she'd given him in the garden 3 months ago. Okay, she whispered. Yes, take me to dinner, Dante Moretti. Show me your world. Show me what this could be. His answering smile was brilliant. He lifted her hand to his lips, pressed a kiss to her knuckles that sent warmth flooding through her entire body. I promise you, Tesoro, you won't regret this. I'm going to spend every day proving to you that you made the right choice. Starting right now. He stood, still holding her hand. First, we're getting you the best orthopedic surgeon in the city to make sure your leg heals perfectly. Then we're upgrading your apartment's security. Then we're sitting down with my lawyers to finalize the business arrangement for your shop. And then, once you're healed and feeling better, I'm taking you to the nicest restaurant in town, and we're going to spend an entire evening just talking, getting to know each other. No business, no drama, just us. How does that sound? It sounds perfect, Emma said, and meant it. 3 months later, Emma stood in her newly expanded flower shop, putting the finishing touches on an arrangement for one of Dante's hotel galas. The shop was twice the size it had been, with new equipment, a larger cooler, and 2 part-time employees she'd been able to hire. Business was booming, thanks to the contracts Dante had secured for her. But the best part of the last 3 months hadn't been the business success. It had been the man himself. Dante had been true to his word. He'd taken her to dinner, multiple dinners actually. They'd talked for hours, about everything and nothing. He'd shown her his world, introducing her to his mother, who had hugged Emma tightly and thanked her again for her bravery. Taking her to galas and events, teaching her how to navigate the social circles he moved in. But he'd also come into her world. He'd spent evenings in her shop, watching her work, asking questions about flowers and arrangements. He'd met her friends, had dinner with her and Lily, who adored him, had even helped her move into a better apartment, one he'd insisted on, with state-of-the-art security and a doorman. And somewhere along the way, between the dinners and the late-night phone calls and the quiet moments in her shop, Emma had fallen in love with him. She was just clipping the stem of a white rose when she heard the bell above her shop door chime. She looked up, smiling automatically, then felt her heart skip when she saw Dante walking in. He was in a suit, as always, but he'd loosened his tie and rolled up his sleeves. He looked tired, but happy, and the smile he gave her when their eyes met made her knees weak. "Hi," she said, setting down her scissors. "Hi yourself." He walked over to her, slipping his arms around her waist and pulling her close. This was new, the casual intimacy, the way he touched her now like it was the most natural thing in the world. 3 months ago, he'd been careful, respectful, giving her space to heal and process everything. But in the last few weeks, something had shifted. The touches had become more frequent, more lingering. The kisses, and there had been a few kisses, sweet and slow and perfect, had become deeper. "You're here early," Emma said, resting her hands on his chest. "I thought you had meetings all afternoon." "I did. I rescheduled them." Dante's hands tightened slightly on her waist. "I needed to see you, to talk to you about something." Emma's stomach flipped. "That sounds serious." "It is. Close the shop for a few minutes?" She searched his face, trying to read his expression. He looked nervous? That was new. Dante Moretti didn't get nervous. "Okay," she said slowly. She went to the door, locked it, and flipped the sign to closed. When she turned back around, Dante had moved deeper into the shop, standing among the flowers and ribbons and vases. "Emma," he said, his voice low, "these last 3 months have been the best of my life. You know that, right?" "Dante, let me finish. Please." He ran a hand through his hair, looking uncharacteristically uncertain. "I've been thinking about what I want, about my future, about what matters to me, and every time I think about the future, you're in it. Every single time. I can't imagine waking up and not having you in my life. I can't imagine going to sleep without knowing I'll see you the next day. You've become... God, Emma, you've become everything to me." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "You've become everything. To me, too," she whispered. "Good. Then this will be easier." He stepped forward, took both her hands in his. "I know it's only been 3 months. I know some people would say that's too fast. But Emma, I knew 3 months ago, when I walked into that hospital room and saw you lying there hurt and scared, that you were going to change my life. I knew when you trusted me enough to tell me the truth about Richard. I knew when you smiled at me and said yes to dinner. And I know now, standing here in your shop, surrounded by all these beautiful things you've created, that I want to spend the rest of my life with you." Emma's breath caught as Dante slowly sank down onto one knee. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket, opened it to reveal a stunning diamond ring. Not ostentatious, but elegant and perfect. "Emma Reeves," he said, his voice steady now, certain. "Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life proving to you how much I love you? How much I treasure you? Will you be my wife, my partner, my everything?" Emma couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, could only stare at him through her tears as her heart felt like it might burst from her chest. "Yes," she finally managed. Yes, Dante. Yes, yes. 1,000 times. Yes. His smile was blinding. He stood, slipped the ring onto her finger, and then he was kissing her. Really kissing her. Deep and passionate and claiming, his hands cupping her face like she was something infinitely precious. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. I love you, he murmured. I've loved you from the moment you smiled at me in that garden. I just didn't know it yet. I love you too, Emma whispered back. Even though you're crazy and intense and you turned my whole life upside down. Is that a complaint? No. She laughed, a little watery, a little breathless. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. Good. Dante kissed her again, softer this time. Because I'm never letting you go, Tesoro. You're mine now. For always. For always, Emma agreed. And standing there in her flower shop, surrounded by roses and peonies, and the sweet scent of new beginnings, she knew it was true. She'd found her fairy tale, and it was better than anything she could have ever imagined. But Emma and Dante had no idea that their happiness was about to be shattered in the worst possible way. The engagement party was held at Dante's mother's estate exactly 2 weeks after his proposal. The garden was lit with hundreds of white lights, and Emma had done all the floral arrangements herself, cascading displays of roses and peonies in cream and blush, with touches of deep burgundy. It was a small gathering, just close family and friends, exactly what Emma had wanted. She was standing near the champagne fountain, laughing at something Lily was saying, when she saw Dante's expression change. He was across the garden, talking to Luca, and suddenly, his entire body had gone rigid. His face, that carefully controlled mask he wore in public, had cracked just enough for her to see the rage underneath. Luca was showing him something on his phone. Dante's jaw clenched, his hands curling into fists at his sides. Emma excused herself from Lily and made her way through the guests, her heart already starting to race. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Dante, she said quietly when she reached him. What is it? He looked at her, and the fury in his eyes made her take a step back. But then his expression softened slightly, and he reached for her hand. We need to talk. Privately. Now. Okay. Emma let him lead her away from the party, into the house, up to his mother's library. Luca followed, closing the door behind them. Tell me, Dante said to Luca, his voice deadly calm. Luca pulled out his phone again. We got a hit on Richard Chen's passport. He's back in the country. Flew into New York yesterday using a different identity, but facial recognition caught him at JFK. Emma felt the blood drain from her face. But you said he left. You said he could never come back. He wasn't supposed to, Dante said, his voice tight. The agreement was very clear. He leaves, he stays gone, or he faces consequences. Apparently, he's decided the consequences are worth whatever he came back for. There's more, Luca said grimly. We've been monitoring chatter in certain circles. Richard's been talking, bragging, actually, about how he's going to make you pay, Dante. How you humiliated him, cost him a fortune, and he's going to hurt you where it counts. Where it counts, Emma repeated, her voice hollow. She knew what that meant. She knew before Dante even said it. You, Dante said, looking at her. He's coming after you, Tesoro, to get to me. But how did he even know about us? About the engagement? Luca grimaced. The engagement announcement went out on social media yesterday. Your sister posted photos. They went viral. People love the whole regular girl marries mysterious billionaire angle. Richard must have seen them. Emma felt sick. Lily had been so excited, had posted beautiful photos of the two of them with the ring, with captions about love and fairy tales. Emma had thought it was sweet. She hadn't thought about danger. This is my fault, she whispered. If I hadn't said yes, if we hadn't announced it, no. Dante's hands were on her shoulders, firm and grounding. This is Richard's fault, not yours. never yours. He turned to Luca. Where is he now? We lost him after the airport. He's good at disappearing. Had plenty of practice. But boss, if he's here for revenge, he's going to make a move soon. He knows we're looking for him now. He'll want to strike before we find him. Dante's phone buzzed. Then again. And again. He pulled it out, looked at the screen, and went absolutely white. What? Emma asked, fear clawing at her throat. Dante, what is it? He turned the phone toward her. Text messages from an unknown number. The first was a photo of Lily, taken tonight, at the party, laughing with some of Dante's younger cousins. The second was a photo of Emma's flower shop, the lights off, the door closed. The third was a photo of Dante's mother, sitting in the garden not 20 feet from where they'd been standing minutes ago. And then a message. You took everything from me. Now I'm going to take everything from you. Starting with the pretty little flower girl. She looks so happy. Wonder how she'll look when I'm done with her. Emma's knees buckled. Dante caught her, his arms coming around her, but she could feel the tension in his body. The barely leashed violence. Get my mother inside, Dante said to Luca, his voice like ice. Lock down the estate, full security protocol. No one in or out without my personal clearance, and find out where the hell Richard is right now. I don't care what resources it takes. Find him. Luca was already moving, already on his phone barking orders. Emma clutched at Dante's shirt. Lily, where's Lily? She's here. She's safe. I'm going to make sure she stays that way. Dante pulled back enough to look at her face, his hands cupping her cheeks. Emma, listen to me. I need you to trust me. Can you do that? She nodded even though she was shaking. Good. We're going to go back down to the party. We're going to smile and act like nothing is wrong. We're going to give Richard the illusion that we don't know he's here, that we're not prepared. And while we do that, my men are going to hunt him down. He made a mistake by announcing himself. By texting me, we can trace that. We can find him. And when you find him? Emma's voice was barely audible. Dante's expression hardened. When I find him, he's never going to threaten anyone I love ever again. That's a promise, Tesoro. They went back down to the party. Emma felt like she was moving through a nightmare, smiling and nodding and accepting congratulations while her insides churned with terror. Dante kept her close, his hand at the small of her back, and she could see his security team moving through the grounds now, subtle but present. Lily bounced over, her face flushed with champagne and happiness. Mrs. Moretti wants to show me the wedding venue options. Can you believe we're actually planning your wedding? This is insane. Emma forced herself to smile. That sounds great, Lil. But hey, why don't you stick close to me for the rest of the night, okay? Why? Are you feeling okay? You look kind of pale. Just tired, long day, but I want you near me. Lily shrugged. Sure, whatever. But you're going to have to deal with everyone asking you a million questions about the wedding. Fair warning. For the next hour, Emma played her part. She discussed flowers and venues and dresses, all while her eyes kept scanning the garden, the shadows, the faces of the guests. Dante was doing the same. She could tell. He was charming and relaxed on the surface, but underneath, he was coiled tight, ready to strike. Luca appeared at Dante's elbow, whispered something in his ear. Dante's expression didn't change, but Emma saw his jaw tighten. Excuse us for just a moment, Dante said smoothly to the group they were talking with. He guided Emma a few steps away, Lily following curiously. What is it? Emma whispered. We got a location. Richard's at a motel about 15 minutes from here. Luca's team is moving in now. Dante's eyes were hard. This ends tonight. I'm coming with you, Emma said immediately. Absolutely not. Dante, he threatened me. Threatened my sister. I'm coming with you. I need to see this end. I need to know he can't hurt us anymore. They stared at each other for a long moment. Then Dante nodded slowly. Fine, but you do exactly what I say when I say it. Understand? Yes. What's going on? Lily demanded. Why are you guys being weird? Emma took her sister's hand. Lily, I need you to do me a favor. Go inside with Mrs. Moretti. Stay with her. Don't leave her side until I come back. You're scaring me, Em. I know, I'm sorry. But please, just trust me. Dante and I have to take care of something. We'll be back soon. I promise. Lily looked between them, her eyes wide, but she nodded. Okay, but you better come back, or I'm going to be really mad. I'll come back, Emma promised. She hugged her sister tightly, then watched as one of Dante's men escorted Lily into the house. 10 minutes later, Emma was in the back of Dante's car, speeding through the city streets. Dante was on the phone with Luca, getting updates, his free hand gripping Emma's tightly. They've confirmed he's there, Dante said, hanging up. Room 237. He's alone. Luca's team is in position around the building. They pulled up to a rundown motel on the outskirts of the city, the kind of place that rented rooms by the hour and didn't ask questions. Luca was waiting by a black SUV, along with 4 other men Emma recognized from Dante's security team. He hasn't moved, Luca reported. Lights are on in the room. We've got eyes on all the exits. Dante turned to Emma. You stay here, in the car. Door's locked. If anything goes wrong... Nothing's going to go wrong, Emma said firmly. Go, end this. I'll be right here. He kissed her hard and quick, then got out of the car. Emma watched as he and his men approached the motel, moving with military precision. They positioned themselves outside room 237. Dante knocked once, twice. Nothing. He nodded to one of his men who pulled out a keycard. They must have gotten it from the front desk. The door opened. Dante went in first, his men following. Emma held her breath, counting the seconds. 10, 20, 30. Then she heard shouting. A crash. The sound of something breaking. And then Dante was dragging Richard out of the room, one hand fisted in the back of Richard's shirt. Richard was fighting, thrashing, but he was no match for Dante's strength or the fury in Dante's movements. You think you can threaten her? Dante's voice carried across the parking lot, cold and lethal. You think you can come back here, send me pictures of my family, of my fiancé, and just walk away? She was mine first, Richard spat. I saw her first, and you ruined everything. My life, my plans, everything. Your plans involved hurting innocent women, stealing from them, and when one of them had the courage to refuse you, you broke her leg and threatened her baby sister. Dante shoved Richard against the wall of the motel, his forearm across Richard's throat. That ends tonight. You end tonight. You can't kill me, Richard gasped. Too many witnesses. Too much attention. The engagement announcement means people are watching you now. You're in the spotlight. You can't make me disappear. Dante smiled, and it was the most terrifying thing Emma had ever seen. You're right. I can't kill you. But I can do something much worse. He stepped back, and Luca immediately moved forward with a tablet. Dante took it, held it up so Richard could see the screen. This is a compiled file of every crime you've committed in the last 15 years. Fraud, embezzlement, suspected murder, all of it, with evidence. Bank records, witness statements, forensic analysis. Everything. Dante's voice was conversational now, almost pleasant. I've already sent copies to the FBI, the police in 3 different states, and the district attorney. They're very interested in talking to you, Richard, especially about those 2 dead women. Richard's face went from red to white. You can't. I'll tell them about you, about your businesses, about what? My legitimate enterprises, my legal operations. I've been very careful, Richard. You, on the other hand, have been sloppy, and now you're going to pay for it. Dante handed the tablet back to Luca. The police will be here in about 5 minutes. You're going to tell them everything. You're going to confess. And you're going to spend the rest of your miserable life in prison, where men like you belong. I'll escape. I'll find a way. No, you won't. Dante leaned in close. Because I own people in every prison in this state. Guards, inmates, administrators. You'll be watched every second of every day. If you try to escape, if you try to hurt anyone, if you even think about Emma or her sister or my family again, you'll find out exactly how much reach I have. Do you understand me? Richard slumped against the wall, defeated. In the distance, Emma could hear sirens approaching. Dante walked away from Richard, leaving 2 of his men to keep watch. He came back to the car, opened the door, and slid in beside Emma. It's done, he said quietly. He's going to prison, for a very long time, and I'll make sure he never gets out, never hurts anyone again. Emma threw her arms around him, burying her face in his neck. She was shaking, tears streaming down her face, but they were tears of relief now, of release. It's really over? She whispered. It's really over, Tesoro. You're safe. Lily's safe. Everyone's safe. Dante held her tightly, his hand stroking through her hair. I promised you I'd protect you. I keep my promises. They stayed like that, wrapped around each other, as the police cars pulled into the parking lot, as officers swarmed the scene, taking Richard into custody, as Luca handled all the statements and paperwork. Finally, when Richard was in the back of a police car and being driven away, Dante pulled back enough to look at Emma's face. Let's go home, he said softly. Back to the party, back to our family, back to our life. Emma nodded, wiping at her tears. Yes, let's go home. When they returned to the estate, the party was winding down. Dante's mother took one look at them and immediately pulled Emma into a tight hug. Dante told me what happened, she said quietly. I'm so sorry, sweetheart, but it's over now. Richard can never hurt any of us again. Lily appeared a moment later, launching herself at Emma. You're okay. I was so worried. What happened? Where did you go? I'll explain everything later, Emma promised. But for now, just know that we're safe. All of us. Richard is gone. For good this time. Lily looked at Dante. You did this? You made sure he couldn't hurt us? I did, Dante said simply. And I always will. You're family now, Lily. Both of you are my family, and I protect my family. Lily surprised everyone by hugging him. Thank you, she whispered, for taking care of my sister, for taking care of us. Dante's arms came around her, awkward, but genuine. Always, kid. Always. Later, after the last guests had left and Lily had been sent home with security, Dante and Emma stood alone in the garden where they'd gotten engaged. The white lights were still twinkling overhead, and the scent of flowers filled the air. I'm sorry, Dante said quietly. I'm sorry that Richard came back. That he threatened you. That I put you in danger by being part of my world. Emma turned to face him, taking both his hands in hers. Don't apologize. You didn't put me in danger. Richard did. And you ended it. You protected me. Protected Lily. Protected everyone. You did exactly what you promised you'd do. I was terrified, Dante admitted, and the rawness in his voice made her heart ache. When I saw those photos, when I realized he was here, that he could hurt you. Emma, I've never been that scared in my life. The thought of losing you, of something happening to you because of me. But it didn't, Emma interrupted gently. I'm right here. I'm safe. We're safe. And we're together. She reached up, cupping his face. I love you, Dante Moretti. I love you, and I'm going to marry you, and we're going to have an amazing life together. Richard doesn't get to take that away from us. He doesn't get to win. He definitely doesn't get to win, Dante agreed. He pulled her close, his arms wrapping around her waist. Because I have you. And you, Tesoro, are the best thing that's ever happened to me. Even better than your fancy hotels and restaurants, Emma teased, trying to lighten the mood. Infinitely better. Dante smiled, then lowered his head to kiss her. It was soft and sweet, and full of promise. When they broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. "Marry me soon. I don't want to wait. I want you to be my wife. Want to make this official. Want everyone to know that you're mine, and I'm yours. How soon are we talking? Next month? Is that crazy?" Emma laughed. "It's completely crazy. And absolutely perfect. Yes, Dante. Let's get married next month. Let's start our life together. No more waiting, no more threats, no more fear. Just us." "Just us," Dante echoed. He kissed her again, deeper this time, his hands tangling in her hair. And standing there in that garden, surrounded by flowers and light and the promise of tomorrow, Emma knew that her fairy tale was real, that sometimes the Mafia boss did fall for the girl with the flower shop, that sometimes, despite the danger and the threats and the chaos, love won. Richard was behind bars, her sister was safe, and she was engaged to a man who would move heaven and earth to protect her. The nightmare was over, and the best part of her life was just beginning.